Chapter 15, Leadership and Influence. Self-leadership, the ability to lead yourself toward your vision, the leader standing in the mirror. For a long time, I believed leadership was about influence over others, about commanding a team, inspiring an audience, guiding people forward. But everything shifted when I asked myself one simple question: can I lead myself? This isn't about running a company or managing a team. It's about the most important kind of leadership in your life, self-leadership. Because without it, everything else is just a mask, not true power. 1. Self-leadership is not control, it's inner guidance. People often ask me, how do you stay disciplined? But the answer isn't control, it's self-trust. Self-leadership begins where excuses end. It's when you become your own, inspiration, not critic, mentor, not punisher, commander who listens, not suppresses. It's the art of being your own anchor, not your own enemy. Staying on course, even when the storm hits. And most importantly, not betraying your goals for temporary comfort. 2. Lead yourself when no one's watching. True leadership is revealed in what you do when no one's looking. Not for likes, not for approval, not for status, but out of self-respect. I learned to ask myself these 3 questions every morning. 1. Who do I want to be today? 2. What will move me closer to my vision? 3. What challenge will I face today? And how will I meet it with honor? This daily ritual shapes your inner spine, the one that holds you up when everything else is shaking. You stop reacting. You start responding. Because your path is no longer shaped by circumstances, it's a choice of responsibility. 3. Rituals that create results. Self-leadership isn't just about big decisions. It's about the small, daily rituals that strengthen your will and integrity. Here are a few that work for me. Morning strategic pause, 10 minutes of silence to set my focus. Goal visualization, seeing myself each day already where I want to be. Evening check-in, 3 questions. What did I do? What didn't I? What's next? These tiny moments carry me through fatigue, chaos, and doubt. Because self-leadership isn't about heroics, it's about consistency, about being loyal to yourself, even when giving up feels easier. 4. Self-leadership is deep responsibility. Not external pressure. I'm not forced to pursue my goals. I choose to. That's the key difference between someone who pushes themselves and someone who leads themselves. When your goal becomes a conscious choice, not a borrowed expectation, your internal engine switches on. You're not just disciplined, you're driven by your own vision. Conclusion: the hardest path, but the most rewarding, is the one that leads to yourself. You can achieve a lot by managing others, but real transformation only begins when you become a leader to yourself. That's when your actions become precise, your will becomes calm, your path becomes authentic. Because when you lead yourself, people don't just listen to your words, they trust your presence, and that is true power. Leadership skills in teams and society influence doesn't start with a microphone. It starts with your example. For a long time, I thought leadership meant being on stage, the spotlight, the voice that leads the crowd. But life taught me a different truth. True leadership begins where no one's watching, in your team, your family, your community, your everyday life. In the previous chapter, we explored self-leadership, the ability to lead yourself. But there is another circle of influence: how you show up for others. Because personal transformation becomes real only when it resonates within a team and sparks change in the world around you. 1. A leader doesn't stand above. A leader stands beside. One of the most powerful shifts in my understanding of leadership came when I realized leadership isn't about ruling from above. It's about serving alongside. It's about being the first to take responsibility. The first to say, "It was my mistake." The first to lead by example when everyone else is waiting for direction. In any team, the most effective leaders are not the ones who pressure, but the ones who create space for others to grow. It's not about ego, it's about trust. 2. 3 keys to leadership within a team. Transparency over manipulation. A leader doesn't play games. They speak with honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. Transparency earns respect. Manipulation only earns short-term results. B. Recognizing everyone's contribution. In one team, I learned this simple truth. Sometimes one sentence of recognition from a leader can energize someone more than a cash bonus. People need to feel seen, and recognition is a currency that never loses value. C. Building a culture, not just chasing results. Yes, You can hit your targets at the cost of burnout. But a true leader creates a culture people want to stay in. A place where being yourself is safe, where mistakes aren't failure, they're fuel for growth. 3. A leader in society is the one who acts, not the one who stays silent. Leadership in society doesn't begin with a title. It begins with a stance. Your stance is your voice, your choices, your courage to support or to resist. A societal leader is someone who doesn't walk past injustice, starts change, even when it's difficult, builds bridges while others are building walls. They don't wait for permission to act. They know that society is not them, it's us. 4. Leadership equals action that inspires others to act. The most powerful leadership lesson I ever received came from someone who never called themselves a leader. They simply acted when everyone else stayed silent. And that simple act triggered a wave of change. Sometimes we think we're influential only when we have a crowd behind us. But real impact happens when even one person dares to live differently. Because they saw you do it first. Conclusion: your actions are the most powerful leadership message you'll ever deliver. Your path is not just about you. Every decision you make is a signal to someone else. Every boundary you set becomes a model for others. Every moment of courage you choose gives someone else permission to find their voice. Because resetting isn't just a personal journey. It's a chain of influence that changes far more than we imagine. Leading by example, the power of positive influence and inspiration. True impact begins when you stop chasing it. One of life's deepest paradoxes is this: we influence others most, not when we seek influence, but when we simply live with honesty and heart. In the previous chapter, we explored leadership in teams and society. But there is an even deeper level of influence, the effortless example we set simply by living our truth. That's what we'll explore now. Because real resetting isn't only about changing yourself. It's about the wave you set in motion, often without even realizing it. 1. People don't learn from your words. They learn from your life. You can talk to your kids every day about the importance of honesty. But if they see you bend the truth at the store or lie on a phone call, they'll follow your actions, not your lectures. The same is true for your friends, your partner, your colleagues, your consistency, your inner integrity, your authenticity. That is your message. You're speaking to the world, even when you say nothing, and the world listens, especially when you don't even realize it. 2. The energy of authenticity. The most powerful form of inspiration. In a world obsessed with looking successful, the most inspiring person is the one who's not playing a role, but living their truth. I've been in rooms full of so-called leaders, but the only one who truly inspired me was the one who wasn't trying to impress anyone, just present, kind, grounded. Inspiration isn't a result, it's a state of someone who knows who they are, someone who isn't performing, but devoted to something bigger than themselves. 3. Being an example is about responsibility, not perfection. One common mistake we make is thinking that being an example means being flawless, but none of us are perfect. The most powerful example isn't, I never fail. It's, I face my failures honestly and grow through them. People are inspired by real journeys, not polished highlight reels. Your effort, your courage in hard moments, your ability to rise again, that speaks louder than any motivational speech ever before. The power of everyday details. I've noticed that what sticks with me most from great leaders isn't their grand gestures, but the smallest things. How they said hello, how deeply they listened, how they said thank you, how they encouraged without pretense. These little things create the atmosphere. And atmosphere is impact, not speeches, not strategies, not titles. The space you create around you, that's your influence. It's in every look, every gesture, every choice, and that example spreads, without force, without control, simply like light. 5. When you live differently, others start believing they can too. You have a rare and powerful opportunity to show someone that a different way is possible. You don't need a stage or a microphone or a million followers. You just need to be who you truly are and not be ashamed of it. When you live with courage, others find the strength to do the same. When you choose kindness, honesty, and aliveness, you give others permission to return to themselves. Conclusion: you are already influencing others. The only question is, how? You're already someone to someone. You already have an impact, even if you don't know it. So who are you? Light or shadow, inspiration or doubt, courage or fear? Being an example isn't a mission for the chosen ones. It's an open invitation for anyone brave enough to live truthfully, because real influence begins the moment you finally allow yourself to be you.